I just wanted to ask first about, Ole Miss. Offensively, I mean, they're just extremely explosive in terms of the points per game they score. When you look at them as an offense, I mean, what are the main challenges that you guys are going to have to, take care of when you face them?
Well, I think they've got a number of things. I mean, offensive weapons, their tempo. I think what Coach Kiffin and Coach Levy do offensively is cutting edge. I think they're ahead of the game right now in terms of offensive, firepower, and they're explosive. They're dedicated to it, which I think is a big part of creating explosives on offense. Is they're just simply dedicated to it in the way they go about things schematically, and they push the ball downfield. I think, got a very explosive quarterback. I think, there's times where you got to be able to find some ways to create some confusion for him. But at the same time, boy, when he gets going, he's pretty good, and he's got a lot of weapons around him that they can utilize. I think they do a great job of finding ways to get their playmakers the ball, and they got a number of them.
All right, Kevin Brockway and then Tom Brew.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious about if you talked to maybe Kalen last year, because it's always kind of a tricky situation when you are, entering your last game as a coordinator, you have another job, just in terms of the balance of time and the physical and mental focus in terms of, dealing with kind of two things at one time and preparing a game plan for a final game before you head off for another head coaching opportunity.
Yeah, it's unique, to be able to have that, right, and to have a resource in Kalen, and of course we talked about those things a lot last year, and have talked this past week as well. Certainly there are some things that have to be juggled. I think Tom has been great about that, and there were a lot of things I was able to do last week as I got down to Mobile to get to secure a lot of staff members that we did yesterday. Certainly coordinators and Corey Batoon and Major Applewhite. That was great to be able to knock that out and have those guys on board. And then, you're trying to make sure that you're taking care of those players down there and still doing right by our players here and making sure that we finish well. This is a group of guys here at Indiana that I care deeply for. And I think as I get older and as I've spent, my longest tenure at a program with these players and seen most of them coming in from true freshmen, it means something really special to be able to finish well with these guys. So certainly there are long hours and some little less sleep, but there's a lot of excitement both for our program and some obviously personally, and so excited to work.
All right, Tom, and then Sammy Jacobs.
It seems like your Southern accent is coming back quickly, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, a chameleon sometimes,
Two quick questions for you. One, does it help a lot that we have the sort of the narrowest bowl game window here? That we're going right from announcement to game in less than 2 weeks, where you're just sort of more on a regular preparation schedule in trying to juggle both things. And secondly, it's got to help you too looking forward if you can sort of get some good street cred with beating a Mississippi guy when you're in Alabama, right?
Yeah, I guess there's some truth to that as well. I mean, I think, certainly what we do here and what we have done here played a big role in the opportunity that I got here at South, and certainly the momentum that carries for our program at South moving forward, and what we're doing here right now is an exciting thing. So, from that standpoint, I think when you think of positive momentum, right, that can carry weight on both ends. You think about the time that you normally have. You have about double the time to prepare for a bowl game. I think 2 weeks is good. It's enough time. You feel like it's like a bye week without the other opponent having an extra game to play. So obviously equal opportunity from that standpoint. But very very excited to kind of get going on. My dad taught me this a long time ago. You think you get lulled into that thought of, well, I got a month or I got 2 weeks before the game plan. I'm treating this week like a full-on in-season game plan because you want to make sure that you are as prepared as possible. And then as you get into next week, then it's about cleanup. And I think what we've always been, in our defensive system, probably a lot of credit to my dad and the way he's always operated in bowl games. We've always been very well prepared. And I think it's because we maximize our time, particularly on the front end, so that we, can find those little details in the days right before the game that can make the difference in winning and losing.
All right, Sammy Jacobs and then Peaks.
Coach, first, congrats on the head coaching position and congrats on being named a Broyles finalist. The 4-2-5 was designed to stop an offense like Ole Miss's with the spread. What about their offense scares you? And they turn the ball over so much. Do you see your players licking their chops, thinking that they're going to get the takeaways that should be there in the bowl game?
Well, good question. I mean, it's we're a hungry defense, and we're a group of guys that really believe in one another, believe in their abilities to make plays both individually and collectively. I think the way we're structured defensively out of our 4-2-5 system, and certainly some of the things that we're doing coverage-wise on the back end, we've talked about these things quite a bit, coupled with the way in which we're finding the ability to pressure the quarterback. And, if you can do those things, no matter what, you call yourself 4-3, 3-4, 4-2-5, whatever, right, you're going to be successful. But I do think structurally there's some things that we do that, that we can take advantage of what I'm seeing on film to this point.
All right, Peaks and then Neil McCready.
Hey, Kane, now that you've kind of gotten back into playing, was it sloppier than before, or was it better than expected, or how has things gone so far?
You talking about in terms of practice?
Yeah.
With the guys, I was pretty pleased today. I mean, those suckers were flying around now. I mean, they're a hungry group right now, and they got something to prove. And so, people can, say what they want about not playing the last couple of weeks and opportunities and all those things, but this is a fiery group, and they're ready to go fight.
All right, Neil from Rebel Grove.
Hey, Kane.
Hey,
Curious. Hey, bud, how are you?
Good.
When you look back at your time at Ole Miss, what did you kind of learn from that? I know it was really early in your career and it was a while ago, but did you take anything from those times that you took into your coaching career?
And you and I have had these conversations before. Culture is important, and I do think that we set a culture of a little bit of, that first season at Ole Miss. I think back on that, the defining moment in my mind was that bowl game, or the Egg Bowl, against Mississippi State. And there was a little bit of a, hatred for one another. And culturally, I mean, growing up in Mississippi, I certainly understand that. And that's something that we want to be a part of. But I thought what we did a great job of as a team was defining our love for one another and not hatred towards someone else is the catalyst to being a great team. And, that to me is something that I want to carry on as a head coach at South Alabama. And certainly I think, the culture and the environment that you create it provides an opportunity for people to strive to become the best versions of themselves, when they have a support system like that. And so for me, I thought, I saw that done well at my time at Ole Miss.
And I'm curious, I've watched from afar you guys obviously this year, and it's obvious that the kids enjoy playing for Tom and for you guys and that kind of thing. What have you taken from your time as Tom's defensive coordinator that you're hoping to take to Mobile?
Well, we carry that to again, that same culture and all those things. What I think Tom, what has made him such a special coach is that he is relentless in the detail of accomplishing our visions. So whatever it is that we say, we want to be defensively, offensively, special teams, the vision and culture of our team. I think he keeps everyone in the building, committed to the relentless detail of accomplishing those visions. And that to me, is the role of a head coach, right? Whatever we say we do, we're vision casters, but dreams have to have context and they have to have substance, right? And that substance is in the detail of doing what we do. And I think, Tom Allen is the elite of the elite at that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Nick Suss from the Clarion Ledger.
Hey, Kane, kind of going off of
Hey,
what
Nick.
Neil asked, just what common traits do you see between this Indiana team or this Indiana defense with what those really successful Ole Miss teams that you and your dad were a part of had?
I think they believe in one another. They're hungry. They're fighters. They're certainly opportunistic, both in the way we call things schematically and the instinctive vision that we play with on the back end. I think we've created a system that allow playmakers to put their eyes on the quarterback and react and anticipate, right? Inherently defenses, we are reactionary, right? But how quick that reaction is, does that become anticipatory? If we can anticipate where a quarterback is going with the ball and react that much faster, that's where we're able to create a lot more takeaways and negative plays. And so I think that's something that has always been a core value of our defense. We find creative ways year to year to get that done better and to adapt and adjust to what we're doing. But I think belief and the opportunity to create negatives and kind of dictate the way the game has to be played against us.
All right, Paul, and then Griffin.
Hey, Coach, two quick questions for you. One, who does Ole Miss remind you of in the Big Ten that you've gone up against? And secondly, having grown up there, having coached there, how special is it to you to end your coaching career at IU against Ole Miss?
Yeah, I guess there's been so many things going on. I hadn't really had time to reflect on that to some degree, but a neat opportunity to be able to go play at a place that I care deeply about and had some special times and moments there. My parents are both still living in Oxford and are part of that community, and that will always be a special time for both me and Melissa and the rest of our family. Your second question was what, or what did you start with? I'm sorry. What was the other part of that question?
No, you're.
Who does
the first part of that question was.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's a good question. There are pieces of Maryland in terms of the how explosive they are offensively and Mike Loxley's system, and I think both those guys, obviously both Lane and Mike, sharing time at Alabama. You see pieces of what both these teams have gone and kind of branched off, similarities, and then also it's kind of neat to see some of the nuances that each of them have kind of gone off in. I think. From a run game standpoint, some of those things are very similar. They have a lot of similarities to how we played Nebraska a year ago in terms of the offense. I think that's probably a credit to Jeff Lebby and the system that he came from at UCF. But certainly in terms of tempo and firepower, very similar. I think Ohio State probably utilizes tempo best in our league, and you watch the way in which they're able to get after defenses. They do a great job of utilizing tempo and mixing those things on people.
All right, Griffin, then Stefan.
Hey, Coach. Jerome Johnson has really had a great end of the season, been getting some recognition with some national and Big Ten awards. How have you seen him blossom over the course of his career, and especially in the last couple games? And what do you see as the importance of him in the D tackles against, as you said, a very explosive Ole Miss offense?
Yeah, I love Jerome Johnson. I'm a huge fan of just the growth that he's had over his career here. You talk about a guy that had Jackson State, I believe, in Indiana, were his two offers coming out of Bassfield, Mississippi, and so to watch him grow into being a 4-year starter at a Big Ten program and just get better and better. Both as a leader and certainly in his production on the field. Those guys like that are very rewarding to coach those guys, to be a part of their growth, and to watch them mature both on and off the field is a special thing to get to do as a coach.
All right, Stefan, then Dylan Walls.
Hey, Kane, with players like Jerome that you just talked about and Micah McFadden as well, how much is that something you take with you when you go to South Alabama in terms of, taking guys that weren't so highly recruited and developing them into, nationally recognized players?
Yeah, I think, those are guys, right? Relationships will always be a part of who I am as a coach, right? I do this and I believe in connecting to people, because when you can connect to someone and you can explain the why, when you cast the vision, right? My job from that point, once I cast the vision for them, is to keep them connected to that vision, right? And the detail of how we do things. But eventually, right, those players have to actualize the vision, right? They have to see it for themselves and take ownership for that moving forward. And I think that's where we are defensively right now, is we've got a whole lot of guys that had a vision of what they wanted this program to be like. We have relentlessly kept them connected to the detail of that vision, and now they are owning it. Right. And so when you see that come to fruition and you have those experiences as a coach and a player, that carries on for the rest of your career. And so certainly that's what we're going to try to build at South Alabama, and we'll accomplish that there as well.
Dylan, then Zach.
Hey, Kane, I noticed the last few, I think, South Alabama tweets have used kind of the hashtag LEO with it. Did you maybe ask Tom, like, is it okay if I use that or not? I guess just why did you feel it was so kind of important to bring that to South Alabama with you?
Yeah, I believe that is the heartbeat of our program, right? And LEO is something that is often, maybe not understood or misunderstood in college football. It doesn't mean some lovey-dovey feeling that we have for each other every way, but it's the way in which we care for one another. It's truly a mindset of it's not about me and I don't care who gets the credit. And that is a very difficult thing to instill in young men, particularly guys that are coming from, the backgrounds that they have, where they're pretty much all the alpha male and everybody's been patting them on the back since they were 6 years old out on the park ball leagues and fields. But it's something that is important. It's something that I believe in. I asked Tom, if that's something that I could carry on to South Alabama, and he was more than happy to be able to share that. And I think it's something that's needed in the landscape of college football right now, to consider the needs of others above yourself. That to me is a quality that young men, both football or otherwise, that we need to be able to instill in our young men to create better cultures in our football programs, and certainly better men in our communities.
All right, Zach, and then we'll wrap up with John Blau.
Kane, I guess this is a little bit sort of offbeat, but I'm doing a story. It seems like everybody's got a story about going recruiting with Tom, and either something he did that maybe really struck a nerve with a recruit, really built a bond, or maybe it was just something a little bit kind of off the wall. I think one time he went horseback riding as part of a recruiting visit. I was just wondering if there was anything that kind of from your time with him at any Indiana or anywhere else that jumped off the page, just a story that maybe you just sort of stuck with you, I suppose.
Yeah. I'll say this. I love going recruiting with Tom Allen to hear him cast vision for our program and really connect to people and players and families. But I don't like going recruiting it with him when it comes to food. He always wants to go to some bland meat and potatoes spot, and when we go down to Florida or we go down to the South and all those things, like I want to go enjoy the food, you know what I mean? And he's got this little bit of spice just throws him over the edge. And I do remember there was a story I think him and Grant have back in we were recruiting a player out of New Orleans, and Mom threw out the etouffee and the jambalaya and all those things, and it got him pretty good. But boy, he hawked it all down. We ended up losing the kid to LSU the night before signing day. So, but that to me is something that I always joke with him, and something that I think is. It's special. It's good to have bonds like that and stories that we can tell on one another. And, I've said this before, and I got emotional in the team meeting the other day talking about it. But, Tom and I have a special connection, and he's somebody that means so much to me, both on a personal level and professionally. And to be leaving him soon is certainly bittersweet for me. But I love that man, and he's a great man and a great coach.
All right, John, last one.
Just building off of that connection you talk about with Tom, I know you're obviously a coach's son, so you know that these coaching trees exist. But I mean, you, Tom, Grant, Jason Jones, all those guys back in Ole Miss. I mean, have you guys talked about that? Just that you all have that same similar connection and what that means to you to be playing this team. Is it kind of a little extra special just having that amount of guys who have the connection to the team you're playing?
Yeah, I mean, the experiences that we had at Ole Miss will be something we carry for, the rest of our careers. And I think you cannot, you have to understand, right, that those things that we did at Ole Miss are a piece of what we do here at Indiana now. And I think that's a credit, to Hugh Freeze and some of the things that he did and the culture that we were able to build there. And certainly the lessons that we learned, both positive and the adversities that we went through in order to make us a better program here at Indiana. And so, it's nice to be able to reflect back on those things and to be able to connect with people and the experiences that we both shared together about what we've been able to accomplish here at Indiana. But I'll say this is about our players, and this is about connecting to them and finishing well with them. And they have earned every accolade, every, applause that they have gotten to this point, and probably deserve more than what they'll ever get. But we want to finish well for these guys, and we want to take this program moving forward into the 21 season, where I will become one of the biggest fans of this program, and not necessarily a part of it on a day-to-day basis. But winning this bowl game and taking care of business is a big piece of our success moving forward. And I think everybody in the building is connected to that vision right now.
All right. Thank you, Kane.
All right. Thanks, guys.